there's a lot of untold in the relationship between children and parent.
Yes.
And I guess that becoming a parent, you understand a lot of this untold, and I don't doesn't always come to your mind to show or say to your 15-year-old boy or girl that you love him, and
Yes.
you have coach, you have psychologists, you have books that were not existing 50 years ago. People are more conscious about the fact that they're parents, and they're trying to eventually seek for help, and maybe before they were just reproducing what they had seen.
Men always, when they meet in social gatherings, when they meet offline, like just, they have their men's night out or a drinks night or something like that, when they get together, do they ever discuss about kids? So hello everyone and welcome to the Expat Parenting Show. Today we have Julia with us. Julien Delphy is from Luxembourg, living here for quite some time, and he is of French origin. Welcome to the show, Julia.
Hello, Ruchi. Thanks for the invitation.
Glad you could make it. I'm really excited. Every time any male comes to the show, it's really exciting for me because, as we were discussing offline, I'd like to bring more the father's perspective in the parenting journey. So really happy to have you here today.
Very happy to bring half of the parenthood to the
Yes,
table.
indeed, indeed. It is, as you said, half of the parenthood, and which I believe, and it's let's say, unfortunately, when we talk about parenthood, it always gets skewed towards mothers. I'm a mother myself, but I feel pity for the fathers that they do not get the due credit as they should. So, and this is something that I'm trying to break from this. Let's say this podcast series, to have more fathers participating in this show so that we can bring more perspective from the fathers as well, and let others know, both mothers as well as fathers, that it's a joint responsibility, and it's an equal responsibility of a mother and a father in raising a kid.
I'm glad to bring that.
Yeah. So, Julia, to set the context and just so that our audience knows you a little bit more better, can you just introduce yourself briefly, like more
Yes,
in
of
the context of the kind of person you are and a little bit of your family background, so that we set this context to our audience?
Yeah, with pleasure. So I'm French originally. I've been in Luxembourg for the last 5 years. I'm a father of two, I'd say, grown-up kids, even if they're not that grown up. A boy of 16 years old and a daughter of 13, but they live with their
Wow.
mom in Paris.
Yeah.
So I get to have them and see them every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That most of the time I spend in Paris with them.
Yeah.
And I'm a father. We're married. And I'm a father of a young boy. Will be 1 year in 15 days from now.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Nice. That's lovely to know. So, birthday wishes to your little one in advance.
Thank you.
So, it's I did not know this part of you. So it's great. Like you have two grown-up kids, and now you have another younger one who is toddler, so to say. So soon to be a toddler. I would say an infant currently. When you first held your baby, I mean, you can share. You have three kids. So what was the experience like with every kid? Was it different? So what was the feeling when you first became a dad?
Well, I think that the first thing that came to my mind, I mean, not to my mind because it's really blown me away, is
Yeah.
is the feeling of being a father.
Right.
And I somehow realized the relationship I had with my own parents under a different angle. I mean,
Yes.
felt this love that's not explainable, this relationship that's not explainable, but also the feeling that you need to protect. And
Mm.
so, every time I was feeling that my parents were a little bit too much on my back,
Yes. Yes.
now, I mean, I got that feeling. And so, yeah, it's when I first became a fighter, I was 28. I think I was ready,
Yeah.
but maybe didn't anticipate, I mean, the load
Right.
that it would become for me and for my wife at the time. I was lucky enough to have my mom very close to where we were living, so she was
Mm-hmm.
helping us a lot. I
Yeah.
have to say that at the time I was an entrepreneur, spending 15 days a month outside France,
Yeah. Yeah.
traveling, I mean, overseas, and working a lot during weekends and so on. So I, it was great because I also had some free time where I could, I mean, have the full benefit of them. But it
Yes.
was always, you know, you were missing some things. You were missing the first the first teeth, the first whatever. That was
Yeah.
a bit
The
frustrating.
first significant milestones that you have in the growth
Yeah,
journey of the children.
and of course, I mean, becoming a father again 13 years after,
Yeah.
or 12 years after, is is very particular.
Mm.
It's as strong, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that the joy and the love it brings is as high. I mean, it's not
Yes.
diminishing.
Of course not. Yeah.
Um, and in the meantime, I changed career, so I went to entrepreneurship, and now I'm working in a corporate, and
Yeah.
I made the other way around of most
Mm.
people who tend to work for a big company, and when they get 40, they're a bit bored by
Yes.
all those boundaries and want to find freedom and
Yeah.
somehow launch their own business. I had enough of freedom, and somehow, I mean, probably I had enough of had to be the person who is on at midnight on a Saturday.
Yeah.
um, and so I have to say that this new baby came right at that time, and that was quite amazing to be able to leave this
Yes.
with somehow more freedom, because it's just, I mean, it's you're very busy and your job is interesting and everything, but
True.
it's only a 9 to 5 job somehow.
Yes. Yes.
So at 6 it's done. When you have to take your paternity leave, I mean, you take your paternity leave just because,
Yeah.
by law you can take it. At the
Yes.
time I couldn't, just because the operations were going on. So it's
True.
way different, and of course it brings you different things. So before you didn't have the time, so you were trying to make the maximum out of the small amount of time you had.
Yeah.
Now you have more time, so it gives different perspectives.
Yes. Yes. You mentioned quite a lot of things, and it triggered a
Sorry.
lot of questions in my mind. No, no, it's completely all right. It triggered a lot of questions in my mind, and I'd like to go back to the first one, wherein you mentioned that when you first became a father, you realized like your relationship with your parents, and that's pretty much, I think it's a similar experience that all first time parents go through.
Mhm.
So even in my case, like when I first became a mom, I realized that, yeah, I mean, what would it have been for my parents when they raised me? Because yeah, we, I think, somehow take it for granted, like when we grow up, like it's the usual grind that we take it for granted, and we think like, yeah, it's okay, I mean, you raised us, not a big deal, it's fine. But now when we go through that same process, it's a life cycle. So when we go through that life cycle ourselves, we realize that, yeah, what a job our parents have done with us. And this is something that we try to pass on with our own parental journey ourselves to our kids as well. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's true, and I guess that there's a lot of untold in the relationship between
Yeah.
children and parents.
Yes.
And I guess that becoming a parent, you understand a lot of this untold, and I don't doesn't always come to your mind to show or say to your 15-year-old boy or girl that you love him,
Yes.
and you'll be here whatever, and it's not always easy times and so on and so
Yes.
forth, and specifically in the, I mean, older generations.
Yeah.
And so the fact of becoming a parent also helps you understanding, hey, when I was 15 and I was bored and they were bored, but I mean, they were still my parents, and
Yeah.
not they were not administratively my parents. They were my parents, like they were
Yeah.
caring for me.
Right.
and
Right.
and, and that's was also a very interesting light I was giving to my life, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you also think like that in the generation of our parents and in our generation when we became parents ourselves, do you think that there is a slight change in the way of communication that we have with our kids and they had with us? Like our parents had with us, do you think that the communication has improved a little bit? Because as you said, like there are a lot of untold things we do not discuss, like the parent child relationship is as such that, once the children grows up, like your older kids are already teenagers, so at some point in time there is a gap wherein, the kids don't like to speak or interact that much with the parents. And until they are small, they're very happy because they, like, you are their world, so they like to spend as much as time with you. But as the kids grow up, they have their friend circle, they have their extended societies of their own, so they like to spend as much as time outside. And yeah, a little bit, let's say, basic to dos that they want from us as parents is something that they look forward to. But in terms of interaction, I doubt how much of interaction do the teenagers prefer. Because personally, I said, for me, like, I'm speaking for myself, when I was the teenage age, I remember that, yeah, this is a phase wherein I never used to like discussing or having a conversation, a detailed one, with my parents. Maybe because of the hormonal changes or what. But yeah, that was my phase. But would like to understand more from you.
Well, I don't think. I mean, my experience here is not specifically enlightening. I think, but I just think that generally speaking, I mean, you have coach, you have psychologists, you have books that were not existing 50 years ago.
Hmm.
And so,
Yes.
I mean, I guess that the people are more conscious about the fact that they're parents, and they're trying to eventually seek for help. And maybe before they were just reproducing what they had seen. And
Yeah.
so this is what maybe change it. Sometimes it maybe change it too much. Like you want to say to someone, I mean, stop listening to whatever, just take care of your kid in your
Yeah.
own way, and you're going to do good. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's different because somehow at the time, I mean, I remember having a discussion with someone who said that his or her mom never spoke to him or to her
Mm-hmm.
when he was a baby,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she didn't know that she had to
How
speak
to
with the
speak?
baby
Ah, okay.
at all. So until the
Yeah.
baby was speaking, she wasn't
Yeah.
speaking to the baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course, I mean, you wouldn't do that now. So I mean,
Yes.
when extreme like that, yes, I guess that it's for, I mean, it's beneficial. But for other things, sometimes you see so much that you
Yes.
would, I mean, think so much about what you're doing instead of just doing it.
Right, right, right. And that's a very good point that you made, that fortunately now, like in this phase that we are in, we have a lot of resources at our disposal. So that we can use, that probably our parents did not have back then, because it was, as you rightly pointed out, that it was just, let's say, a basic reproduction cycle. Fortunately, yes, we do have a lot of resources that new parents can use. And we were discussing offline that, yeah, one of the few resources that we have is, of course, I mean, there are podcasts like these, there are Facebook groups, there are different WhatsApp groups that new parents use. Moving forward, Julia, that feeling, like, every time you become a parent, like, it's a different feeling. It's not like it diminishes, as you said. So I'd like to know from you, like, what does it mean for you to be a father?
Oh, that's philosophical. Uh, uh, wow. It's I guess it's uh, sharing. Yeah, sharing common values in a very deep way.
Yeah.
Trying to elevate someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um of course, it also means, I mean, evolving your own couple. I guess that,
Yes.
we all ask ourselves, what would be my couple without our babies? Like,
Yeah.
would we still be a couple?
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's, sometimes couple tend to not stay together because they couldn't have a baby,
Mm.
and sometimes they tend to divorce because they had a baby.
Yes.
So yes, I guess it's, for me, it's pushing even deeper this relationship into someone that you're trying to raise within this circle first, and then
Yeah.
raise to be able to go out of the circle.
Yeah. 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 Do you feel a sense of heavy responsibility?
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah.
To I mean, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
we're watching the Olympics right now, and I'm not
yes.
sure how much the parents of those champions are responsible in
Mm.
a positive way. And in the same way, I mean, we every day we hear horrible things about people who
Yes.
do horrible things, and
Yeah.
how much are their parents responsible. So I think that, everyone needs to bring it back to what it is. Like, yes, I'm responsible to feed you in a proper way,
Yeah,
so that you're taking the right habits, and you're
yeah,
not. I mean, you're not having something missing, or you're not having too much of something else. I am
yeah,
responsible for that. I am
yeah,
responsible to make sure you somehow belong to the society as a whole,
yes,
with a capital S.
yeah,
I am responsible for all that. But then the rest, it's you becoming a teenager and then an adult who's going to be that. So I'm just here to to
yes,
make sure that you belong as to a whole, but you also question this whole, and you see what makes you feel good about it and what makes you less good about it, and what is it that you're going to need to adapt with, and what is it that you can go maybe across the across the line every once in a while.
right, right, right. No, I mean it's so many jobs pulled together. Parenthood, like it's so many things all put together. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. You're managing to provide, let's say, the basic resources to the kids in terms of the food, education, shelter, and then as they grow up, you want to ensure that your kids are on the right track. And as you said, like they can go haywire a little bit. It's our job as parents to make them aware, to let them differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Of course, as parents we have limits. We cannot enforce everything, but the best that we can do is something just to provide them the guidelines, that this is what you
Yeah.
can do to make them aware of the best things, or the, let's say, the right things to do. And then at certain age, when they grow up, it is their individual choices which they take, which a couple of minutes ago that we were discussing, that you mentioned of the Olympians,
Yeah.
that I'm not sure, yes, again, how much of credit their parents could take, because after a certain point, it's the individual effort of a person, and it has got nothing to do with the parents also. So,
Well, with
yeah.
the DNA, but not
Oh,
education.
yes, yes. Okay, so on a different note, I'd like to, let's say, try to ask you a little bit more on, let's say, a fun aspect of it, that men always, when they meet in social gatherings, when they meet offline, like just, they have their men's night out or a drinks night or something like that, when they get together, uh, do they ever discuss about kids?
Yes, they do. I think they do, but in a probably in a male's way.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's a bit more pride of he has done this, he has done that, or she
Yeah,
has done
yeah,
this, she has done that. She's in advance,
yeah,
is
yeah,
walking
yeah,
at 9 months, or he's doing
yeah.
this. So there's a lot of pride, but I don't know if it's misplaced or not. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess that we usually men don't show too much doubt.
Yes.
So I don't imagine so much. I mean, this discussion where someone would arrive and say, "Oh, it's tough, and I think it's the
Mm.
teeth. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
What would you do for teeth?" I mean,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah, yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
But I don't think I'll ever have this kind of discussion with male who ask me, "Hey, but what would you do? Like, if the bottom of your kid is not going fine because of
Yeah, yeah.
what's your magic recipe?" But yeah, it's I guess it's sharing the pride of seeing them growing more than anything.
That's interesting to know. I mean, yeah, because I was always curious to know this. I mean, at least around me with my husband and his friends, I've seen them interacting a little bit. But now, when you mentioned that, yeah, it kind of makes me think. Yeah, I mean, they do discuss the activities of their kids, and I'm thinking now, is it on the similar lines, or they? What one thing that I've observed, at least with my husband, and when he interacts with his friends, is also like. In Luxembourg, like there are a lot of extracurricular activities. So beyond a
Yep.
certain age, when the kids grow up, so they check with each other that, okay, what are the resources, what are the extracurricular activities that they are doing, what is the admission process, this, that. So this is also one line of discussion that I've seen men doing with their friends. But yeah, I mean, it's good to know that there is some discussion at
Of
least,
course they
because
are.
there with with the Instagram reels and the way that content is projected these days, I mean, you always end up thinking like, yeah, men always do not like to talk about kids at all whenever they meet in such interactions. But good to know. Okay, so Julia, at some point in time, like you mentioned that of parental leave, when we were discussing initially. And when I was doing my research, I was trying to look for resources online, like just to get an idea of globally how is the perspective of parental leave. Like, is it like by law that it is there in few countries, or what's the process? I unfortunately I did not find enough information of a lot of countries providing such provisions, especially for fathers. For mothers, of course, there are maternity leaves in a lot of places, but in terms of paternal leaves, I did not find a lot of countries providing that. So, what do you think, especially in context of Luxembourg? Again, like we are fortunate that Luxembourg has this provision for even fathers, that there is paternal leave, and I know that you also have taken paternal leave, and there is a lot of flexibility in the way that this paternal leave has been structured. So, what do you think is the advantage of such a leave, and is it necessary? Should countries take it? I'd like to hear more from you on your views of paternal leave.
Well, the advantage is quite obvious for me. I mean, that just means that parents are with their kids when the kids need it the most. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's also a time of life of the kid where there's a lot to do,
Yeah.
and it's not. I mean, I guess you've been on maternity leave before. It's not exactly vacation. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not precisely
It's
vacation.
more than a week. I mean, it's more than a full time job. So forget about vacation.
No, exactly. So I really think that it's great because it helps people. Uh, I mean, taking the time again at a time where probably the baby needs it the most.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I know it does exist in other countries. I know that in the Nordics specifically, this is something
Yes.
which is strong. In
Yeah.
France, it's not as long as what we have in Luxembourg, and it's
Yeah.
also not as well compensated
Yeah.
as well as Luxembourg. Because I
Yeah.
guess that the one key thing in Luxembourg is so both parents can take it as long as
Yes.
the first parent takes it right after the maternity leave
Yeah.
ends,
Yeah.
and in this case, both parents are allowed to take it.
Yeah.
But what makes it very particular in Luxembourg is a lot of your wage is covered by the state. So
Yes.
it's not something that you take at the detriment of your own wealth of against paying the bills,
Yeah.
which of course helps. I mean, very
Yes.
honestly, if I had to fund it on my own, I don't know if I would have taken it.
True.
But I mean, given it was possible, it's an investment. It's a small
Yes.
investment. I mean, in my personal case, I think there's still 10% which is not covered by the government, but it's. I mean, I'm very happy
Yeah.
to invest this this
No, of
10%
course.
from my own pocket. I mean,
Yes.
every day, clearly,
Of course. Of course.
with great pleasure, and it just gives you an opportunity to be with your baby at the time he evolves the most.
Absolutely.
And that's also why, I mean, in Luxembourg you can decide to have different ways to take it. You can take a block of
Yeah.
4 or 6 months. You can take half time of 8 months or 12 months,
Yeah.
or you can take one day a week.
Yeah.
Um, your employer cannot refuse to give you the parental leave. This
Hmm.
is by law. I mean,
This
it's
is by
for
law.
everyone.
True.
But I mean, it can refuse the modality of it. I mean, if you
Yeah.
ask to have it on 20%, just like I do,
Yeah.
your employer can say no. So for me, it was one of the conditions to make it happen
Yeah.
was this one day per week. So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very grateful to my employer that they accepted
Yeah.
to it like this. And I'm not sure I would have taken it if it was full time.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, it's not an easy task, like we were saying before, to be with a 4 month or five
Yes.
months old,
Yes.
24 hours a day.
Yes.
And also, I mean, given, I mean, I had kids before, and I knew how much they were evolving. And for me, there was more, I mean, chance
Yeah.
to see him evolving, having him every Friday for 20 months,
Yes.
rather than having him between 4 months and 7 months and a half. I mean, the difference is amazing because, of course, it started in January. I mean, from
Yeah.
January to now, it's really different. I have
Yes.
a sleeping baby,
Yeah.
awaken a little bit here and
Yeah.
there in January, and now I have a baby who only, I mean, somehow sleeps 3 hours a day,
Yeah.
and the rest we do things, we learn, we change the meals,
Yes.
we go to the pool, we go hiking together. I mean, and I guess that, I mean, we'll learn bicycle, or I mean, all those little things
Yes.
that you can do on a 2 year time. So that's quite amazing. And for me, that was the number one choice to, you know, uh, to make this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was one very very big element for me.
Yeah.
And also, as I said before, in having grown up kids
Mm-hmm.
who are in Paris,
Yeah.
that was an opportunity for me to get there earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
before I was finishing my day on the Friday, taking a train, arriving there. Now I can go the day before
Yes.
with their younger brother, so it's nicer.
Yeah.
One of the elements for me also to choose was the fact that I could decide to place that extra day on the Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I want a 3 days weekend, but
Yeah.
it's really the weekday.
Yes.
And for me, clearly, if it was the Monday or the Wednesday, it would be almost impossible because of the business.
Yeah.
It's days where, I mean, it's hard to be away from the office.
Yes.
And what's great is I have to say that people respect it quite
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, when there's emergency, I am of course available, and people know I
True.
am, but they don't abuse of it. So
Yeah.
it's something quite nice, I have to say.
Yeah, and that's again, I think with time, this thing is changing. Like in terms of people are more respectful of, let's say, of an individual's family life as well. But there's another aspect which I want to ask you, like, is not a lot of men take this paternal leave that willingly, and I have seen in a lot of cultures that they take it as on their ego, like, okay, how can I take a paternal leave, or why should I take a paternal leave? Like, the mothers are there, why is the need for me to take this leave? Do you think that mindset is also changing slowly and eventually?
Well, I mean, there's two things here. One is I mean, each individual,
Yes.
and I guess that depends, but I mean, most probably it's evolving. It's also, I mean, your employer, the people around. I mean, uh, it's there's the pressure of the society. I mean, if people look you badly because you're taking you're taking your parental leave,
Hmm.
if your brother tells you that you're becoming a woman or whatever, I mean, maybe it hurts. So I can understand that some people would feel that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess mentalities are evolving,
Yes.
and I guess that some values are evolving. I mean, like the man being strong
Yes.
and taking care of bringing the money back home and so on. I think this is all evolving. It takes time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, I don't think that Luxembourg is such an advanced, or was such an advanced country in terms of, I mean, in terms of the mindset. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
was still quite German and quite conservative until not so long ago. And I think that it is evolving quickly,
Yes.
probably thanks to the ads. I mean, to the cultures
Yeah.
of
The
the country
expat
from people.
population.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's also allowed by the fact that, I mean,
Yeah.
there is the economy to do it.
Yes. Yes. No, which is very
And
welcoming in a way that, yeah, again, I mean, because yes, it's true. It's a fact that a lot of economy is driven by the expats here in Luxembourg. And it's also good to see that the government is also trying to incorporate changes in the policies and the laws, the way that they are doing in terms of the professional lives, in terms of the family lives. And it's a welcoming change. And more so, I mean, I don't know, maybe because of the population size that we are in Luxembourg, it is, let's say, easier to pull up something like that, because imagining in even in the neighboring countries, it is not that easy to pass a bill to make such changes which are so drastic in the society in general. So I think we are fortunate in that way that we are in Luxembourg, and
Yep.
we are also fortunate that we have this provision. We can raise a petition, and if it passes a minimum number of signatures, then this petition is by law. They have to take it in the debate and the discussion in the
Mm.
parliament, so that they can discuss further upon it, and if needed, then pass a bill accordingly. So I mean, those are welcoming changes for any democracy to work well. And yeah, I'm just happy that I have a family here in Luxembourg, and my kid is a part of the Luxembourgish system here in
Mm.
that way.
No,
Do,
absolutely, absolutely. I really think that again. I mean, if you want to, if you want to do it, um, you still need to be able to cover well enough, compensate well enough the wages of people. Meaning,
yes.
some countries. I mean, if tomorrow France want to do it, I mean, the
Mm,
debt is already very high there,
yes.
which means they're going to have to decide what they eventually would have to stop to be able to fund this.
Right.
In another end, there's a lot of countries, specifically in Europe, where I mean, there's not enough kids,
Mm,
and so I
yes,
mean,
they
you
have
don't
a
have
huge
enough
aging
people to pay
population.
the pension of tomorrow. So
Exactly.
it's also an investment in this, because I guess that if you tell someone, hey, by the way, the first the first 3 years of your kids, don't worry, there's
Yeah.
always going to be a solution for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think maybe less twice, thinking, okay, yes, we have a kid, but what if we don't have a creche
Yeah.
or something like that? So
Yes,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, it's like having a kid is not just that, yeah, okay, you it's a reproduction cycle, but then at beyond certain point, like once the kid is born, you need to have the entire system in place. You need to have the medical infrastructure there. You need to have the daycare infrastructure there. You need to have a proper education system. And I mean, there are so many factors when people talk about having a kid. I mean, it's nobody thinks of the depth of all these topics, of all these issues that needs to be considered before having a kid, or let's say when you're planning, you have to think of the long term perspective. It's not just that, okay, you had a kid and that's it, your job is over. I mean, it's a lifelong responsibility.
It's starting.
It's the
It's
starting point,
not finished. It's
exactly.
starting.
It's just starting, and it's, yeah, it's a lifelong responsibility. I don't think so at any given point in time our responsibilities as parents like finishes. Like even as grown up adults now, we have our own kids. Like even for our parents, uh, the responsibility reduces after some certain point in time, because we can take our own decisions ourselves. We have we can earn well, but not that our parents do not have any influence on us anymore. It's
Mm,
always there. Like we are a family, and we'll always be a family together.
true.
Okay, so like you've shared a little bit about your experience of having a parental leave, how it has helped you, like in terms of like you did these Friday commutes to Paris. So uh, on another, let's say, to go a little bit on a deeper aspect of it, what does it bring to you as a family? Like what does it mean to you for having a family? And the reason I am asking this question is also because like there are a lot of fathers who might be, hesitant in making that call, at least with those who have this facility, who have this provision wherein they can take a paternal leave. To them, if I mean, if it can act as certain kind of an encouragement, like, okay, it can help you in some or the other way in your schedule, apart from, I mean, the obvious choices that, yeah, you get to spend a lot of time with your kid, you get to see their milestones. But what on the other side, like what does it bring to you as a family?
Well, I think first of all, it changes the rhythm of your week,
Hmm.
because it's not 5 days you're working, your kid is at the crash and has a specific rhythm, and then there's 2 days, and on those 2 days, yes, you will spend some time with your kid, but you also have to do everything else.
Yes.
So you need to go shopping, you need to do this, you need to do that. There was this administrative thing you need to do. So, and my advice for whoever is doing it is don't take this extra day as a day where you're going to do everything you would do Saturday, Sunday, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're killing it. But it means that you release part of this pressure.
Yeah.
And that means that all those little things that can become a nightmare on the
Mm.
Saturday, the Sunday, because you had this very important thing for your other kid and you would have, I mean, needed to
Yeah.
go somewhere to pick something. Well, you do it the day you're on parental leave.
Yeah.
So it releases a little bit pressure everywhere. And so that means that as a family, you have this extra little time, this extra little thing
Yeah.
that makes everything more fluid.
Mm.
And that really doesn't have a value. I mean, it's hard to
To make it
evaluate.
tangible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about your kid is a little bit sick. He's not that sick, but you need to make some analysis, whatever. You need to do something. Well, you have your
Yes.
parental leave day for that.
Yeah.
So you don't need to ask your wife, hey, recently I was not that much in the
Yeah.
office. I really need to work, and I really can't bring the baby to the doctor. And she
Yeah.
said, yeah, but that's the same for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone will have to take half a day off to bring
Yeah.
the kid to the doctor, and it's all those little things that when you put it together, that day is great. That also means that when your baby is feeling not so great, and you know that in the creche or in the institution, he's going to be more tired, and they can't take care of him as well as you, who has one kid at home.
Yeah.
So I mean, we know our kids. We know when
Yes.
they're really tired, and we know that this is the extra
Yes.
thing where if he needs to sleep 3 hours in the morning and
Yeah.
somehow misses the real time to eat,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
cares? Doesn't change anything. It's just your own agenda.
Yes.
So the great thing with this extra day is it can be a day where every once in a while you can, I mean, have an agenda, and every once in a while you can just let go and focus only on the day of the baby and the rhythm of the baby. So it's really great. I mean, the first thing I was thinking. I mean, that will sound stupid, but the first day I was off with the baby
Yeah.
was a Friday in Jan, and it was sunny. I know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which
given
is rare. Which is rare for Luxembourg.
exact, and we live in a very rural area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like half an hour away from Luxembourg City,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and around where we are, there's little path around the fields,
Yeah.
and you're a little bit on a hill.
Yeah.
And I remember, just pushing the thing, and the baby sleeping inside, and just the feeling of, hey,
Yeah.
the stress going away. And I was
It
thinking to
feels
myself,
good.
I just gain. I mean, I just bring down the possibility of me doing a
Yeah.
stroke
Oh
of
yeah.
10%. I just brought down the possibility of me having an attack of 20%, just
Yeah.
because, yeah, it's a time where you can focus a little bit on you, on the baby, and that just
Yes.
betters all the relationship, the one you have with your own kid,
Yes.
where you can take the time, you can spend the time to think, oh, easy hurt, easy not hurt, and so on,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also the one you have with your partner in life,
Yes.
because that means that, I mean, you know what it is. Sometimes you go back
Yes.
home during the maternity leave, and you have someone in front of you that gives you the baby and tell you
Yeah.
that's yours. I
That
don't
that
want to hear about it
now
anymore.
now I'm done. I have
I'm
taken
off.
care of the baby.
And so you
Exactly.
can have this thing the other way around, and
Yes.
it helps. And so for me, really, the maximum of it, I mean, the best value of it
Mm-hmm.
is time.
Yes.
It's time.
Quality time.
Yes, quality time. But even if it's not quality time, that
Mm-hmm.
allows the rest of the time to be qualitative time.
Yeah.
So maybe that specific day is going to be a very bad day,
Yeah. Could
but
be.
but it makes the next one better,
Yes.
and that's really good.
Yeah. 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 That's really good. It's funny. You mentioned of this thing that, yeah, I mean, in most of the cases, like the friends that I know and a lot of people here, uh, when it's mostly the mothers who have taken this maternal leave, and you mentioned of that very same instance, like I could literally visualize it that okay, as soon as the fathers are home, hold your baby, I'm off. This is such a real scenario that I'm sure a lot of parents, I think, across the globe can relate to. And it's a breather in such a way. Like if you have this opportunity to take such paternal leave yourself, so that it's you share the responsibility with your better half, with your spouse, with your partner, so that they are also not stressed and you also are not stressed. And as you said, like you kind of reduce the possibility of all the illnesses that might have happened. So, I mean, it's just funny, like how we spend time with our kids, even outdoors or inside. I mean, just playing with them is so stress free in a way. Especially at this age that I can imagine your younger one is in, it's a lot of joy. It brings a lot of joy. Uh, to most of the parents, like just to see them smiling, giggling all the time. Of course we do not enjoy when they are crying and howling, but to see them smiling is something which is a blissful feeling for all the parents. And with that, I mean, I think I'd like to ask you, Julia, if you have any concluding remarks for our audience here. I mean, what would you like to say, if there is any on the basis of your experience as a father, if there is anything that you'd like to share to our audience, especially to addressing to the fathers, whoever is watching this episode today, what would you like
The
to
first thing I
tell
would
them?
say, and it's related to the parental leave, but that works for the rest, is
Yeah.
you know your own situation, and you're the one who needs to know,
Yeah.
if it's going to fit you or not, if it's
Yes.
gonna, and you're the one who needs to know what's the best for you in terms of days, in terms of modality of it, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
uh, but I mean, it's something that you're entitled to have.
Yeah.
Anyone can have it, any mom, any dad can have it,
Yeah.
and honestly, it would be a pity not to profit of it,
Hmm.
because I mean, it's there,
Yeah.
it's there. It's, I mean, for most of us, not going to cost you anything, or cost you very very few money, and it really gives you the opportunity to spend more time with your kid.
Yeah.
And for the rest, my advice is get informed and decide.
Yeah.
Because what's terrible when you have kids is, again, you're going to have people saying things, and you're going to have nine different opinion
Exactly.
every day.
Yes.
And at one point, you need to use your own, I mean,
Wisdom.
your self judgment, and
Yes.
think what's good for you. And what is really important to conclude is, be constant and be consistent.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing you can do for yourself and for your baby, is be consistent. Because if you decide to do one way, and you change 1 week after, and then you change another week after, it's going to be tough for you and for the baby.
Yeah. And this is very important, like the last point that you mentioned specifically, it is helpful in terms of forming a routine for your kid. Like being consistent is something which is so important. Like when we are consistent with, let's say, whatever schedule that we have kept for our kids, and we try and maintain that, we become consistent in that. It helps the kids also to be in the rhythm that, okay, they, although they do not know what the actual time is, but they get the sense of it from
Mhm.
following the routines that we do. That, okay, we form a ritual, so to say, that, okay, this is what we do at bedtime, this is what we do like just during the bath time or the meal time, and it really helps the kids getting those cues, those
Yeah, it's
important
true.
cues, that, okay, what can they expect next. So nothing comes to them suddenly, like out of the blue, like, okay, why are my parents doing this one fine day? Why have they
Mhm.
decided to change everything altogether?
But that gives them comfort. That gives
Yes.
them, I mean, they
Safety
feel
is,
safe.
they
They
feel
feel
safe.
safe. The routine helps them making safe.
Yeah.
I guess it's important to find the right balance also between, routines, and also breaking every once in a while the routine,
Yes.
because you don't want to create, someone who eats at 8 cornflakes with with
Yeah, yeah.
milk, only that,
Yes.
and that eats at 12, and
Yeah.
he needs to eat ham,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and so you need
Absolutely.
to find, I mean, it's important to give confidence, but it's also important to create as much as possible some
Hmm.
little monsters who can adapt. So,
Yes. Yes.
adaptable
No, no, that's again a
routines.
very important thing that you just mentioned, like being consistent, as well as like being adaptive in our
Yeah,
approach.
flexible.
so that yeah, kids learn to be flexible. Because I again remember, I mean, again reminds me of this funny incidents which happened while my kid was younger. Like, okay, there are families who have like a strict routine that okay, by 8:30 my kid is in the bed, come what may. And I'm like, okay, my kid is awake until 9 p.m. and at times during 9:30 p.m. And I was made to look like as if like, okay, I'm doing, am I doing something wrong with my kid? You know, you
Mm.
have all these noises from different parts of the world telling you, oh, no, 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 your kid should be in bed by now. If he's not sleeping, something is wrong. And I'm like, nothing is wrong. He's active, he's playing, he's doing, he's eating properly, and everything is fine. It's just that he follows a different routine, simple as that. Like,
Yeah.
and the very first point that you mentioned in the advice, that we got to know what works best for us as a family. Like
Mm.
it is applicable in the different parts of raising a child, like even as mothers, as simple or basic things like following a routine, or to important decisions like taking a paternal leave or a maternal leave. So yeah, I'm glad that we
Yeah,
had
what
this
works for
discussion.
one person will not for another
Exactly,
one, and it's
exactly.
okay. And it's okay as long as you, again, you try to find the right information and make your
Yes.
own choice. But don't, I mean, I mean, I didn't give birth to my baby, okay? But I was happy that together with my wife, she knew what she wanted to do,
Yes.
but she knew she gonna had to be flexible,
Yeah.
because I mean, we I mean, we all of us would like to have a baby, I mean, coming naturally without but it's just not that easy, and
Yeah.
and sometimes you can be sure you want to do like your grandmother was doing back in the time, and yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, if you can't, you can't, and it's very
Yes.
okay. You're not
Yes.
an under mom,
Yeah.
because I mean, because and it's exactly the same. Like you have a framework, you have a structure,
Yes.
and sometimes you're gonna have to adapt it, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. And what is also important, and glad that you mentioned this again, because, and I think maybe as a concluding remark, is the role of fathers also in terms of supporting the spouses, their partners, is very significant, which again often gets unnoticed, unrecognized in a lot of places. Because, I mean, it, you might have experienced like women do go through changes hormonally after like
Mhm.
delivering a baby, and there are fluctuations, there are temperaments here and there everywhere. They themselves do not have any clue most of the times that what's going wrong with them.
Yeah,
But
clearly.
yeah, but it's the husbands, the partners, the better halves who kind of take care of it so seamlessly that they don't make mothers or let's say their wives realize or feel through it. I mean, they are just there many a times, just being there as a silent listener to listen to whatever is going on. And that's again, I mean, kudos to all the fathers, to all the uh, husbands here, I mean, who do this job tirelessly of supporting their wives
Yep.
in this time. So thank you, Julia,
My pleasure.
for
Thank you
your
very much.
time. It was great having you on the show and interacting with you. And I hope you enjoyed this candid conversation that we had today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, and I hope that our audience too enjoyed this. And if you can take some inspiration from Julia's shared experience that he provided us today, I mean, in the little nuances here and there from his own life, it could benefit you as a family. So, thanks again for all our audience for watching this show and spending your time with us. So, thank you again and have a good day. See you all in the next episode.